Right, I have a much clearer mind now. Right. Let me think. Okay. This is an improv story about the word Claire. I like the music faded, that was good timing. So, there was once a little boy called Terry, and Terry absolutely loved to sculpt. He sculpted at school in his little art class. He sculpted at home, and his sculpting was his favourite hobby outside of all his other interests, like pumpkin carving and twig collecting. I don't know why twig. And one day, Terry thought to himself, you know what? I want to sculpt something really, really amazing. Halloween's coming up, and I want to sculpt something that can scare the crap out of everyone. So he sat down and he did some drawings about what he thought the sculpt could be. He went through his mind, he thought about spiders, pumpkins, witches, all the classic stereotype scary stuff. And then he looked out of his window and he saw glistens of some, you know, like when you like look in the dark and you see like a pair of cat's eyes shining back at you. He saw that, except they were bright, bright green. And he looked at them and he just thought it was a cat, but he was confused because he'd never seen a cat's eyes be so bright and green. And he went out to investigate, and sure enough, there was nothing there. But weirdly, it inspired him to sculpt something from the green that he was mesmerized by in the being's eyes. He went back in and he drew some more things, and he got inspired and inspired. He got so inspired that he stayed up all night sculpting and drawing. He was absolutely creative, artisting his mind out. His mum was very concerned because he wasn't going to bed, he wasn't eating for the following week after he saw the green eyes. The mum didn't know about the green eyes either because the boy didn't even talk to her after it happened. All he did was sculpt all day and all night, and he wouldn't let anyone see the sculpt. He said, "No, you can't see it until it's finished. I refuse to let anyone see my masterpiece." And weirdly, whenever the mum came into his bedroom, the decorations in his room slowly became greener and greener. The lamp turned green, like the light bulb became a fluorescent green. His bed sheets were stained with green paw prints. And he had green paw prints leading up to his cupboard, and the lights on the ceiling were green too. And she hadn't done that, and he was like 9 years old, so he couldn't even reach to change the light bulbs. And she said to him, "Terry, what is this obsession with green? Why are you so obsessed with green? It's not a very creative colour." And he turned and looked at her and screamed and said, "Get out, get out, get out of my room. I love green. Green is a creative colour. I love green." And he slammed the door. And his mum was very confused and went back to her fucking mocha latte or whatever the fuck, watching Emmerdale. And then at 3 a.m. that night, the mum heard a sound. It sounded like creaking, like someone walking around, shuffling around in their slippers. She figured that it was Terry, and she got up and went to look. And she saw, and it looked like Terry, but it was very still. And it had a very wet texture on its skin. It was just stood in the corridor. She couldn't see very well because the lights were turned off. And she stood closer to the Terry in the darkness. She said, "Terry, what are you doing up, darling? It's 3 a.m. Go to bed." And then its eyes opened and they were bright fluorescent green. The mother jumped back in surprise. "Terry, are you okay? What's going on with your eyes?" Terry said nothing and only walked past her, walked out into the garden, disappeared into the bushes, never to be seen again. The mother is still looking for Terry to this day, and it was only last night that she saw some fluorescent lights glowing bright green in the bushes. Ah! I tried stopping the music before I went to the next thing, but it ruined it. Did you like my spooky story? That was my improv story called Claire. And I know it was actually a true story. I know. Because it was my eyes that were glowing in the bush. Oh my gosh. I hope you guys liked that story. And thank you so much for joining my stream. I'm actually ending now. As I said, I'm ending the stream a bit earlier than usual because I'm working on my feature